Hello, I am Patricia Ferrillo and I'm a Research and Instruction Librarian for the University Libraries at Florida Atlantic University. Today we will be reviewing MLA Style 9th edition. To access a copy of the MLA handbook, you can go to our service desk. It is located in the lobby of the library right when you walk in. Just give them this call number and let them know you need the book. You can check it out for 2 hours. During that time, you can scan the pages you need or review it as needed. What is MLA Style? MLA was created by the Modern Language Association as a set of standards for writing style and organization, document formatting, and citing sources in paper. It is important because it creates consistency throughout all papers, so someone reading your paper will know where to look if they are interested in a source you are citing, for example. And it is usually used by those in English composition, linguistics, literary criticism, and other language and literature concentrations. It provides uniform formatting. For example, everything is double-spaced in MLA. This makes it easier for people to read. It indicates where you are pulling information from, showing that you have evidence to support the claims you are making in your paper, and also avoids plagiarism by appropriately giving credit to the authors of your evidence. And finally, because this cannot be highlighted enough, by using proper citation formatting like MLA Style, it allows you to contribute to the academic community in an ethical manner by avoiding plagiarism. And just so we're clear, plagiarism is the act of stealing from another author. Citations, both in text and full citations in your works cited page, gives appropriate credit to the authors of the original words, ideas, thoughts, or data that you are using as evidence. It is important to have both in-text and full citations because in-text citations indicate where you're writing and links to your works cited page. It is in the works cited page where the full citation is that allows the reader to look up your references. Added to this slide is a checklist to help you avoid plagiarism. In this slide, we'll cover just the basics of MLA writing style and language. I have the chapters listed where you can look up more information. MLA requires you to be clear in your language, be specific in your explanations and descriptions. Do not be too flowery with your wording, and you do not need to use jargon just to use jargon. Get your ideas across in a clear manner as possible. Be consistent with your spelling. The English language is tricky, and there are sometimes more than one correct way to spell a word. For example, gray and gray are both correct. Pick a spelling and stick with it. Reduce bias in your language or avoid using biased language altogether. Be inclusive in your speech. For more details, please see Chapter 3. In many citation formats, it is required to use 2 spaces after your period, but not in MLA. In MLA, you use the normal 1 space. Spell numbers out that can be written in a word or two. In MLA, it is considered unprofessional to use a number in the middle of a paragraph outside of a page number listed in your in-text citations. For full technical overview, you can see Chapter 2. Margins should be 1 inch all the way around the main body and heading of your paper. MLA does not require a specific font. However, the font must be readable and between the sizes of 11 and 13. Ask your instructor if they require specific font and font size. If not, you can't go wrong with Times New Roman size 12. Double spacing is required for the entire paper. Remove any extra spacing after each paragraph. You can check your margins by going into a Word document, clicking on Layout, and click Margins. It should be 1, 1, 1, 1, top, right, left, bottom. It indicates it's 1 inch all the way around. To edit the paragraph line spacing, you can see an extra line is being added between paragraphs without us asking. What you're going to do is highlight or do this before you enter your text. Go to Paragraph dialog box and click on Don't add spacing between paragraphs of the same style. And then while you're there, you can also change your line spacing to double. Click OK. And this will automatically set your paper so there is no extra space between paragraphs and all of our text is double spaced. Additionally, you should indent the first line of each paragraph a ½ inch. You can do so by just clicking the tab button right when you begin the paragraph. MLA style requires that you set up a running head. A running head is typically located in the top right of your paper. The purpose of the running head is to help readers identify the paper and find their place if pages are separated. In MLA style, a running head consists of your last name and the page number. The font and size of the running head text should match the rest of the paper. To set up a running head, go to your Word document and double-click on the very top of your paper. Then go to Page Number, top of page, and go to plain number 3. From there, you can see our page number has populated at the top right. Then you will just type in your last name with a space, and then go home, highlight both your last name and the page number, and change it to Times New Roman 12. And that's it. It will now appear on the top right of all of your pages. Unlike the running head, which will appear at the top of each page on every page of your paper, the heading only appears once. It should be located in the top left of the first page. It should be double-spaced, and it should include your first and last name, your instructor's name, the course number and title, and the date written in European style, day, month, year. On the next line down, from your heading, you will be putting your paper's title. Like the heading, it only appears once in your paper on the first page. The title should be centered. Do not italicize, underline, add quotation marks, bold, or write it in all caps. Put your title in title case. This means the first letter of each word in the title should be capitalized, except for certain small words like a, the, or of. You can see in this case, Ellington's Adventures in Music and Geography. Our small words are in and end. Headings and subheadings can be difficult to know when to use and should only be used for advanced level papers. Students in introductory classes, unless instructed otherwise, do not need headings and subheadings. We will not be doing a demonstration of this. However, here are some of the general guidelines, as MLA does not have a set of rules for the use of headings and subheadings. Headings should be styled in descending order of prominence. After the first level, the other headings are subheadings. They are subordinate or less important. Font size should indicate prominence. Avoid overusing and only use when absolutely necessary. Additionally, headings should not be used as a replacement for proper writing structure and organization. No heading should only have one instance. You should always have at least 2 headings of the same level used in your paper. That means you need at least 2 level 1 headings in your paper. Headings should have no numbers and no punctuation. They should be in title case and aligned flush left. This is an example of what a level 1 and a level 2 should look like. This is a supplementary video that goes into more detail about formatting your paper. I highly recommend you watch it if you're at all confused. Or feel free to reach back out through Ask a Librarian. There are 2 core elements when you are using in-text citations with MLA style. The first is the author's last name, or if there is no author, then the editor's last name, the name of the organization, etc. And the page number, page range, or if there is no page number, then a location indicator. There are 2 types of citation styles. Citation in prose is when the author's name is stated somewhere in the text. Parenthetical citation are when the author's name appears in the parentheses at the end of the sentence. For more information on in-text citations and more examples, please see Chapter 6 in the MLA Handbook. This is just a basic overview. There are many situations in which you may need to consult the MLA Handbook. This is an example of the correct way to use citation in prose. Notice the author's full name is stated before the quote. Notice we see the page number at the end of the sentence after the quotation mark but before the period. The page number appears in parentheses. This is an example of the correct way to use parenthetical citations. Notice we have our quote in quotation marks. At the end of the quote, we have the author's last name and page number in parentheses. And then the period follows parentheses. Notice there is no comma separating the author's last name and page number. This slide shows what to do when there are 2 authors for a paper. You use both authors' surnames and connect them with the end. The first example is also an example of paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is a shortened or abbreviated version of the author's meaning, but put into your own words and in your own structure. What paraphrasing is not is taking a sentence from the author and just changing a few words. You can see that this is a parenthetical citation with a paraphrase example. You can see both authors' last names at the end of the sentence, connected with an end, and then followed by the page number. Again, the period follows parentheses. And then we have an example of two authors in prose. You see our authors' names, Martin and Ruff. End is spelled out, our quote, and then at the end of the sentence, we have the page number in parentheses before the period. When there are three or more authors, use the first author's last name or surname, followed by et al. Et al. Translates to and others. And you can see two examples with it being used here. Other things to consider: when there is no page number, you will use a location indicator. The type of location indicator depends on the resource or quote. For example, if you're citing poetry, you would use the lines or line indicator. If you're citing a paragraph in an HTML document, you would use the paragraph or paragraphs citation. A block quote is when a direct quote runs 5 or more lines in your paper. When this occurs, you use a block quote format. Block quotes need to be indented a ½ inch from the left margin. Do not indent the first line, do not add quotation marks, and in the case of block quotes, the period appears before the page number. In other in-text citations, the period appears after the page number. For more information on block quoting, see MLA Style Guide. For example, say this is our block quote. We are going to highlight it and then drag it over a ½ inch. So everything aligns ½ inch from the margin, and then you can either put the author's last name and the page number after the period, or you can do an in-text, the author's name up here as a way to introduce the quote, and put the page number at the end like this. And then again, we have an additional resource available to you. If anything I said confused you or you need further clarification, I highly recommend checking out this video. Or if you have any questions, you can always reach out to your librarian at any of the libraries, or you can reach out to us through Ask a Librarian. It's a chat box found on the homepage of all of the library's web pages. A works cited page appears at the end of your research paper on a separate page. If you only have one resource, then it is called a works cited page. Drop the S. It contains a full citation for all of the books, articles, or other resources you have cited in your paper. Do not include references in this works cited that you have not cited or used in your paper. The heading or title of this page should be Works Cited if there's more than one citation, or Work Cited if there's only one. It should be centered. There should be no bolding, italicized, or underlining of the works cited title. It appears like this. Double spacing is required throughout the works cited page. If your reference runs onto a second line, indent the second line a ½ inch from the left margin. This is called a hanging indent format and should be used throughout your works cited page. Here we are at the end of our paper. So what we're going to do is we're going to go on to the next page. What we're going to do is click on Insert and then add a page break. This will take us to the top of our next page. When we go back home, click on Centered and type in our title. works cited because I will be citing more than one. Now we're going to go over to our left margin. Everything should be flush left, again, unless it goes onto a second line, in which case you have to have that hanging indent format. To set up your hanging indent format, you're going to go over to paragraph, and then under special, you're going to click on hanging. And then it should automatically put in 0.5 or half an inch. If it does not, just type that in and click OK. There, our works cited is now set up for a hanging indent. And this is an example of what it looks like when it's populated. And just to show you again, you highlight. If you haven't already done this, what you do is you go in, you highlight the text, you click on special, click on hanging, and click OK. And it'll automatically set up that hanging indent for you. The author's last name should also appear in alphabetical order in your works cited page. I'm going to do that now so you can see. We have M and then N. For creating your works cited page and building a full reference, refer to the MLA template of core elements or go to Chapter 5 in the MLA handbook for guidance on a specific resource. This will be a general overview of how to cite some of the more popular resources. There are two parts to citing a resource. The first is the author and the title of the source. These are considered core elements. The second part is the container. This is information about the container in which your source is held. For example, a print journal is the container for a journal article. This slide contains the basic layout for an online journal article and a print book. In the online resource, the first thing that is listed is the author's last name, comma, first name, then a period. The title of the work is in quotes with a period and an end quote. The container of the title, in this case, a journal, is in italics and in title case. It is followed by a comma, the volume number abbreviated VOL, period, the number, comma, the issue number abbreviated NO, period, with the number, comma, the date written in that European style, day, month, year, the month is abbreviated, comma, and then PP for pages plural, period, page range, period, and then in this case I pulled the article from a database. So the database is what contains the journal. The journal contains the journal article. In this case we have a second container. We can put in the database title in italics and in title case, comma, and then our DOI, our digital objects identifier. Most articles following 2005 have this unique digital object identifier associated with it. Print books are much simpler. You need the author's last name, first name, period. The title of the work italicized, since technically the book is its own container, period. The publisher, period. And the year of publication, period. This is an example written out of what I just walked you through. We have the author's last name, first name, period. The title of their paper in quotes with a period at the end. The title of the journal, the article. The title of the journal the article was published, which in this case is Cultural Anthropology. It's italicized and it has a comma following it with our volume number, our issue number, the date, our page range, the database title italicized, and then our digital objects identifier. This part here, this part should always come after DOI. So this should always precede this unique object identifier right here. This is another example close to the previous one. We are still citing a journal article found in a database. The only difference is that there are two authors. In these cases, you retain the order of the authors listed. So the first author is always last name, first name, comma. The second author is written normal, so first name, last name, period. And you notice they are connected with that word end. The times where there are three or more authors, you put the first author's last name, first name, comma, followed by et al, and leave it at that. These are more examples taken from MLA's website, specifically focusing on books. And these are more examples probably their most commonly asked questions. So an article on a website, a book on a website, how do you cite that? And we have a slide that contains more resources should you need them. If anything I said confused you, you can always watch this video. She goes into this in more detail than I do. We have other valuable resources that I highly recommend you check out that go into more detail, especially that MLA website. Thank you for watching, and please reach out to our Ask a Librarian service or to a librarian if you have any additional questions.